guys! So today we're going to learn about hedge fund versus private equity funds and what the difference is. But I don't know what each of them are, so let's look into it. So, hedge fund versus equity, an overview. Although their investor profiles are often similar, there are significant differences between the aim and the types of investments sought by hedge and private funds. So I guess we'll have to know what they are in depth. Now, both hedge and private appeal to high net worth individuals. 이거 nani? Many require minimum investment of so you need to pay at minimum $250,000 or more to do hedge or private. Traditionally are structured as limited partnerships and involve paying the managing partners basic management fees plus a % of profit. But do you get this much though? 뭐 이거 해도 뭐지? Okay. The key takeaways: hedge fund and private equity funds appeal primarily to individuals with high net. Okay, so only oiler oppa, rich oppas, man. And then both types of funds involve paying managing. Okay, so you have to pay a managing partner basic fee. So those are the common thing. 한국에서 사모예요? Sorry. Now hedge funds are alternative investments that use pooled money. Now this is the difference. Pooled money and a variety of tactics to earn returns for their investors. 그러니까 있는 기본의 돈 using the money that they save to try to earn returns for the investors. Now, private equity fund invest directly in companies by either purchasing private firms or buying a controlling interest in publicly traded companies. So this one is just to earn money somehow. 이거는 뭐 in bad way or good way, just earn money, right? And then it seems that private equity is, I'll just invest in a company that seems like it's going to be successful and try to get you, interest, right? 라임이랑 옵티머스 사건이 뭐예요? Thanks guys. You can invest in private equity funds with like $100 nowadays? Oh, really? That's interesting. So hedge funds are alternative investments that use pooled funds, like what we just said, and variety of strategies to earn returns for their investors. The aim of a hedge fund is to provide the highest investment returns possible as quick as possible. Return high investment. ASAP구나. So to achieve this goal, hedge fund investments are primarily in highly liquid assets, enabling the fund to take profits quickly on one investment and then shift funds into other investments that is more immediately promising. Hedge funds tend to use leverage or borrowed money to increase their return. But such strategies are risky. Highly leveraged firms were hit hard during the 2008 financial crisis. So this one is actually very risky one. So what they do is they put money in one company or one investment. 한 번에 investment 쫙 넣고 오르면 쫙 빼는 건가? So they put it in one type of investment and then take it out and then move it to another promising investment. So it's 치고 빠지는 거? Right? Is that what hedge fund is? 기업에 장기적으로 투자하는 게 사모펀드가 단기 최대 수익을 목표로 하고 그러니까 치고 빠지는 거잖아요. 그렇죠? Hedge fund invest in virtually anything and everything. Individual stocks including short selling and options, bond, commodity futures, currencies, arbitrage, derivatives, whatever the fund manager sees as offering high potential return in a short period of time. So it's not individual stock, but they can do other things like currencies, bond, commodity future. 이게 더 낫지 않나? Isn't this more better? But I have to pay $250,000? 되게 비싼데 그런데 이건? The focus of hedge funds is on maximum short-term profits. Now, hedge funds are rarely accessible to the majority of investors. Instead, hedge funds are geared towards accredited investors as they need less SEC regulation than other funds. An accredited investor is a person or a business entity who is allowed to deal in securities that may not be registered with financial authorities. Oh. Hedge funds are also notoriously less regulated than mutual funds and other investment vehicles. How come hedge funds are less regulated than other mutual funds? Why? 사모는 한번 투자하면 현금화가 어려운 경영권 지분이나 벤처 캐피탈 등이 메인으로 알고 있다고요? 이런 것도 잘 알아봐야 되는 이유가 뭐지? 일반인들은 별로 상관이 없는 거 아닌가? 상관이 없지 않아요? In terms of cost, hedge funds are pricier to invest in than mutual funds or other investment vehicles. What is vehicles in this term? It's not actual cars, right? I'm guessing any type of investment writing thingamabob, right? 그건 아니겠지? Instead of charging an expense ratio only, hedge funds charge both an expense ratio and a performance fee. You have to pay the hedge, like the manager performance fee? This is asset class. So normally 2% per year. 뭐 양아치네. So wow. I guess only those who are busy would be doing hedge fund. 해지는 입출금이 자유로운 대신 상대적으로 공매도, 레버리지 등 리스크가 큰 수단을 많이 활용해서 단기간 절대 수익을 노린 거. 근데 이만큼 수수료가 너무 센데? There's so many. 20% of profit? So what is this 2% though? Medallion takes 40% of profit? 양아치인데? What? Hey, it's my money. Why they take my profit? 아, 인건비구나. But it's not 100% guaranteed profit though, is it? 이거 100% profit 받는 거 아니잖아요? That's why so many people who trusted hedge fund kill themselves, right? Or wait, you know that drama 뭐지? Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha? Wasn't he a member of hedge fund or private equity fund? 희한했던 것 같은데. And that like the dad tried to commit suicide because he invested in the wrong company. Oh my god, that's so crazy. But which one was he at the time? I think it was the private equity fund because I think he was investing it in the company, right? Margin call? Yeah, I'll try to look into that. Wow, that's interesting. So the private equity fund, let's see what this is. more closely resemble venture capital firms in that they invest directly in companies, primarily by purchasing private companies, although sometimes seek to acquire controlling interest in publicly traded companies through stock purchase. They frequently use leveraged buyouts. What are buyouts, guys? To acquire financially distressed companies. They frequently use leveraged buyouts to acquire financially distressed companies. They buy on that are having trouble, financially trouble. Borrow money to buy the company. So they're borrowing my money to buy out the company who's having financial issues. Is that what the last sentence is saying? I think maybe. So similar. So. Where's my mouse? 오케이. 아까 얘기한 경영권 지분 목적의 주식 매매가 저거라고요? They use my money as collateral to borrow money from banks to buy the company. Bank know the deal. Very common. What? They use my money to borrow money from banks? What the heck? What? To pay the fees? That's leverage? Wow, that's leverage that's leveraging it. And then buying is buying the company. And that's what the private equity fund do for me instead of me doing it for them. So a hedge fund can take $1 and trade up to $30. 진짜 어려운데? It sounds super confusing. I'm trying to understand. Do you see my understanding face? So, I have... Guys, I will give you... Let's say this is my money. 내가 이거를... So, bank takes my money. 뱅크가 money를 먹어. Okay? Bank takes my money. And the hedge fund uses my money to buy other company. And make profit. Any profit that they make, a certain percent comes to me, and then mostly goes to the hedge fund. Right? No? 아니요, 한국어도 어려워서 한국어가 더 어려워요, 사실은. 한국어도 어려워서 못 알아들어요. That's not it? What the heck? Okay, hedge fund can take... It goes to the bank. The money that they get from the company goes to the bank and I only get a % increase? Wait, like, if I put it in my savings account, I get like $0.01 a percentage? That's a scam. Then why not just put the money in the bank? Does the % increase? Does the interest increase if they get more money though? 내가 돈 이만큼 있으니까 은행아 이만큼 벌어달라고? 별론데? And where does the hedge fund takes my money from that though? So if the hedge fund makes money from the company that's been bought out, they take certain percentage out and put a certain percentage back in the bank, and I just get the interest from the bank. PE fund가 있어? What's PE fund? What the private equity fund. So they get paid in equity? 와, 씨, 이거 되게 복잡하다. 와, I can never be a private equity fund. Do they have to study accounting to do this? Ah, so they actually, the hedges don't get actual dinero. They just get stock or bonds or anything. Usually trade instruments. Wow, they think in a different class. They don't think in dollar sign. They think in bonds. 미쳤네. And all I get is interest from bank. And they're usually what percentage? Like 3.3%? 0.03%? They think in delta? Yeah, and I'm so confused. So unlike hedge fund focused on short-term profit, private equity funds are focused on the long-term potential of the portfolio of companies. So these people, so private equity funds, those are those who would have already invested in like Google. 뭐 구글에 투자한 사람들이나 막 애플에 투자한 사람들 이런 사람들이겠지? Like early stage Google and Apple? I wish they had Lucid too then. 채권 매매도도 주 종목이라고? 뭔가 되게 어려운데? 한국어로 들으니까 더 어렵다. Importance. Once they acquire or control interest in a company, private equity funds look to improve the company through management changes, streamlining operations, or expansion, with the eventual goal of selling the company for a profit, either privately or through an initial public offering in a stock market. 아, 그러네. So they do get bond. They do get equity. 그러네. They acquire interest or control. Improves the company through management changes, streamline operating, expansion, 기타 등등, and then selling. Eventual goal of selling the company for profit, either privately, so to someone else, or IPO. Are these people like they must have gotten A pluses on their accounting exam, right? To achieve their aim, private equity funds usually have, in addition to the fund manager, a group of corporate experts who can be assigned to manage the acquired companies. The very nature of their investments requires their more long-term focus, looking for profit of investments to mature in a few years rather than having the short-term quickly profit focus of hedge fund. VC 매매나 지분 확보 후 경영권 얻고 그걸 다시 팔아서 수익. 그러니까 내가 이래서 VC 별로 안 좋아해요. Public companies will sometimes poison buyout attempts by PE. I think Cole did this recently. What does poison buyout attempts는 뭐야? They pretend to give them? They go against the buyout attempts? 그러니까 회사 지분을 사고 파는 거야. They make the deal bad on purpose? Because they don't like PEs? Since it's public, a PE could buy a majority of stock and take over by force. This is like so crazy. 대박이다. 뭐지? So they must have, so they do have group of corporate experts래. Assigned to manage the acquired company. Does anybody work here? Wait, so they should know the insights. 잠깐만, 그러면은 그 유명한 유튜버 슈카님도 그럼 여기서 일하신 거네? Carl Icahn was famous for this? For doing poison buyout? 맞아, 수익이 목표지. 맞아. VC든 어느 투자 회사든 다 그러지 않을까요? Usually it's cause the PE would be bad for the company long term. PEs are kind of like vultures. Oh, really? Ah. So who uses hedge fund, guys? Let's talk about key difference first. Key difference, time horizon. Since hedge funds are focused on primarily liquid assets, investors can usually cash out their investments in the fund at any time. Okay, so any time in hedge fund. In contrast, long-term focus of private equity funds usually dictates a requirement that investors commit their funds for a minimum period of time, usually at least 3 to 5 years, often for 7 to 10 years구나. Wow. Investment risk. There is also a substantial difference in risk level between hedge funds and private equity funds. While both practice risk management by combining higher risk investments with safer investments. That is an awful sentence, guys. The focus of hedge funds on achieving maximum short-term profits necessarily involves accepting a higher level of risk. So they think that because hedge fund is short-term, there's more risk, right? Vanguard has announced a new PE fund, huh? When you say they announced a new PE fund, what does that mean? 얘기했던 건 이제 나온다고? 맞아요. 천천히 읽으면 소리 알겠지. Portfolio management, higher risk is balanced by low risk. Oh? With stocks dipping so much, it's probably good hunting seasons for PEs. Because they can buy the stock, buy heavy loads of stock right now. 괜찮아요. 그럴 수 있지. 어차피 한국어로 읽은 다음에 영어로 읽으면 또 다른 느낌이에요. PE funds buy enough public shares to install activist board members and then sell off parts of the company. Wow, guys, then now that I think about it, you know how some of the portfolios, you know how some of the, I think we saw Apple and they had really like crazy random people as the board member? Some of them might be on PE, like PE hedge group, because they have so much stock and they are in the company to give them orders on how to make their stock go up, and once it goes up they sell their stocks, right? 아닌가? You can invest in this PE. 그런 식으로 맞지? 대박이다. So we have to figure out what companies are hedge fund or PE funds. You can invest in this PE that offered by Vanguard. If you're sorry. Guys, can I get donation of $250,000 so I want to be part of the PE fund? Lockup and liquidity. Both hedge funds and private equity typically requires large balances, anywhere from $100,000 to upward of $1 million or more per investor. Hedge fund may then lock those funds up for a period of months to a year, preventing investors from withdrawing their money until that time has elapsed. But I thought you could take your money out whenever, though. No? 뭐지? Just go Vanguard. Oh, do I call Vanguard? Hey Vanguard 오빠, I have $250. Can I do hedge fund? Anytime after the lockup period. Yeah. This lockup period allowed the fund to properly allocate those monies to investors. What is this, monies? I don't think this is monies. What is this word? 이건 뭐예요? What is this? Which could take some time. The lockup period for a private equity fund will be far longer, such as 3, 5, or 7 years. That's how you spell. Oh, money has a but money. It's Y. 아, EY라서 S 아니야? It wasn't just S? 아, 그래? Why did I not know this? Oops. That's interesting. 아, 그럴 수도. No, 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 no. This is because a private equity investment is less liquid and needs time for the company being invested in to turn around. Now, investment structure, most hedge funds are open-ended, meaning that the investor can continually add or redeem their shares in the fund at any time after lockup period is over. Private equity funds, on the other hand, are close-ended, meaning that new money cannot be invested after an initial period has expired. So what do the experts say? This Elizabeth Sagi says, a hedge fund is an actively managed investment fund that pools money from accredited investors, typically those with higher risk tolerances. Hedge funds are not subject to many of those regulations that protect investors as other securities. So they tend to employ a variety of higher risk strategies for potentially higher returns, such as short selling, derivatives, or arbitrage. I can't even talk today. Strategies. A private equity fund is also a managed investment fund that pools money, but they normally invest in private. Isn't this what the same thing? Same thing that I've said on top. But finance English lesson? Perfect. Arbitrage. Really? Arbitrage. It's not rage? Oh, hey. The more money you have, the riskier you can invest because you're fine. Yeah. That's why I only invested in 3,000. Oh. It's a French word? Arbitrage. Damn. 법에서 살짝 비껴난 방법을 많이 쓰다 보니 조세 도피처에 회사를 세우는 경우도 많다고? 조세 도피처에 회사를 왜 세워요? 그럼 다른 법을 따르는 건가? Yeah. Damn, that's all about hedge fund. But that's crazy. I finally figured out what 누구지? I finally figured out the job position that my favorite actor was in the role. 와, 진짜 이건 어렵다. This is a really hard topic. Hedge fund versus private equity fund. But thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Conclusion? They didn't have a conclusion, but my conclusion is that this is something not for someone like me, but for those who are smarter and richer. Because I don't have $250,000. So... if you are at that stage and you have money laying around, definitely invest in hedge fund or private equity fund. But if you're not, let's just go back to ETFs or just individual investment. But it was fun learning about it. One day we'll try. We'll try one day. But yeah. And I guess if I were to pick from the two that I learned from hedge fund versus private equity fund, I do like the safer route of private equity fund, but yeah. But in general, I don't think I'll ever do this, even if I have $250,000 to waste. I don't know if I want to say waste, but because they take too much fees. Like, I'm not risking 40% of my, returns. So 너무 비싸네요. 절대 안 할게요. Private equity is super risky. Oh, that's funny because in this article they say investment risk, they're saying that the hedge funds are, less risky, but I mean, they're both risky. Guys, do something that's safe for your bank account and don't come to me saying, like, oh my god, I lost money because I saw your article on private equity fund or hedge fund. This is the article from Investopedia. I'm just learning about those two. I am not asking you guys to do any of these unless you have money to waste. But if you do have money to waste it on Jinri. Come to me first and then go to the hedge fund because I give good returns of Aegyo and prettiness. So that's all. That's all, guys.